Okay, this is by Srila Narottam Das Thakur in Prarthana. The divine couple Sri Sri Radha and Krishna are my life and soul. Is my life and soul. In life or death, I have no other refuge but them. In the forest of small kadamba trees, on the bank of Yamuna, I will seek the divine couple on a throne made of brilliant jewels. I will anoint their dark and fair forms with sandalwood paste scented with chuya, and I will fan them with a chamra whisk. Oh, when will I behold their moonlight faces? After stringing together garlands of mādhavi flowers, I will place them around their necks, and I will offer tambula scented with camphor to their lotus mouths. With permission of all the Sakhis, headed by Lalita and Vishaka, I will serve the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Narottam Das, servant of the servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, longs for this service to the divine couple. Radha Krishna Pranamo Jugala Kishore Radha Krishna Pranamo Jugala जीवने मरने गति आर नाही मोर जीवने मरने गति आर नाही मोर जीवने मरने गति आर नाही मोर Radha Krishna Pranamo Jugala Kishore Kalindira Kule Keli Kadamberavana Kalindira Kule Keli Kadamberavana Ratana bedira upar bhosabodu jan Ratana bedira upar bhosabodu jan Ratana bedira upar bhosabodu jana Radha Krishna Pranamo Jugala Shama Gauri Ange Divo Chandane Raganda Shama Gauri Ange Divo
Shama Gauri Ange Divo Chandane Raganda Chamara Dulabo Kabe Mukha Chandra Chamara Dulabo Kabe Mukha Chandra Radha Krishna Pranamo Jugala Kishore Gatiya Malatir Mala Dibodo Harale Gatiya Malatir Mala Dibodo Hargale Adhare tuliya dibo karpur tambule Adhare tuliya dibo karpur tambule Adhare tuliya dibo karpur tambule Radha Krishna Pranamo Yugala Kishore Lalita Bhishakadi Jata Sakhi Vrnda Lalita Bhishakadi Jata Sakhi Vrnda Ajnaya koribo sheba charana ravenda Ajnaya koribo sheba charana ravenda Radha Krishna Pranamo Yugala Kishore Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu daseranudai Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu daseranudai Shebha Bhilasha Kore Damodas Shebha Bhilash Kore Narotamodasa Radha Krishna Pranamo Yugala Kishore Radha Krishna Pranamo Yugala Kishore Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Vishnupad Brahmahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtotra Sata Shri Srimad Abhay Charnarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Shri Shri Radhastami Mahamahotsav ki Jai Srimati Radha Rani ki Jai Shri Vrindavaneshwari ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu-padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namane. Namo Vishnu-padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, text 13. Mahatmanaha tu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha bhajanti ananyamanasaha nyatva bhuta adim avyayam mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha bhajantyananyamanaso nyatva bhutadim avyayam Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajantyananya manaso Nyatva bhutadim avyayam Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajantyananya manaso Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajantyananya manaso Nyatva bhutadim avyayam
Mahatmanastu mang partha Daiving prakritim ashritaha Bhajantyananya manaso Nyatva bhutadim avyayam
Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajantananya manaso Nyatva bhutadim avyayam Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajantananya manaso Nyatva bhutadim avyayam Mataji Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajantyananya manaso Nyatva bhutadim avyayam Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajantyananya manaso Nyatva bhutadim avyayam Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajantyananya manaso Nyatva bhutadim avyayam. Word to word translations. Mahatmanaha, the great souls, to what? Mam, unto me. Partha, O son of Pratha. Daivim, divine. Prakritim, nature. Ashritaha, having taken shelter of. Bhajanti, render service. Ananya manasaha, without deviation of the mind. Nyatva, knowing. Bhuta, of creation. Adim, the origin. Avyayam, inexhaustible. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: O son of Pratha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Purport: in this verse, the description of the Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of the Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature. And how is this effected? That is explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. That is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the preliminary formula. Being marginal potency, as soon as the living entity is freed from the control of material nature, he is put under the guidance of the spiritual nature. The guidance of the spiritual nature is called Daivi Prakriti, divine nature. So when one is promoted in that way, by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains to the stage of a great soul, Mahatma. The Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma or great soul develops develops through association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as the four-armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attracted by the two-armed form of Krishna. They are not attracted by other features of Krishna, nor are they concerned with any form of a demigod or of a human being. They meditate only upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in the unswerving service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sujivam Saadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Suratau Pangaur Mamamandamater Gati Matsarvasva Padam Bhojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnaghara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Preshtalibi Sevyamano Svanami Sriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamshi Vatatatastitaha Karshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrndavana Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunayavatirna Kalau Samarpayutim Unnato Jalarasam Subhakti Shriyam Harif Purata Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipitaha Sadahridaya Kandare Spurato Vah Sachinandanaha Shri Radhaya Pranay Mahima Kidrisho Vanayeva Swadhyo Yenadbhuta Madhurima Kidrisho Vamadiha Saukyam Chasya Madana Bhavata Kidrisham Veti Loba Tad Bhavadya Samajani Sachi Garba Sindau Harinduhu Shri Chaitanya Prabhum Vande Balopiyatad Anugraha Tare Nana Matagraha Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagaram. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Daivim Prakriti Mashritaha Bhajanti Manaso Nyatva Bhuta Adim Avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Among all the different days that we are asked to speak on, Sri Radhastami is perhaps the most difficult, followed by Gaura Purnima. This is a verse from Bhagavad Gita, and everything that I'm speaking will hopefully be following in the footsteps. I pray that it follows in the footsteps of His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, who has spoken on these subject matters in a manner that is understandable to very fallen conditioned souls like myself. I hope to faithfully repeat his words in a manner that glorifies him and the predecessor acharyas. So this verse it's interesting because this is Bhagavad Gita, and one may think, what does Bhagavad Gita have to do with Radhastami? Well, this verse has very much to do with Srimati Radharani, because here it is said that those who are not deluded, great souls, Mahatma, they are under the protection of divine nature. So here in this verse, Krishna establishes that there are three entities. What are the three entities? There is the living entities, the great souls, those who are the Jivatmas, and they are Tatastha Shakti, marginal potency. And then he describes there is Daivim Prakriti, there is also energy of his, which is not material, which is spiritual. He explains that there is Yogamaya, that there is divine energy. And the third entity is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. That he is Bhutadim Avyayam, he is the original and inexhaustible personality. So, this is our philosophy in a nutshell, that the living entity, his constitutional position is to serve Krishna, not just serve Krishna, he has to serve Krishna under the guidance of Daivi Prakriti. So, the verse before this refers to, so this is Moghasha, moga karmano, moga jnana vichetasaha, rakshasim asurim chaiva, prakritim mohinim shritaha. So heavy verse. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. So this is a heavy verse, and the word that Krishna uses here is rakshasim asurim. There's two kinds of degraded species of humans are Rakshasim and Asura. So among the 400 species of humans, you have demigods, you also have the Rakshasas and the Asuras. So this is the most degraded. Rakshasa and Asura, both are mentioned. And there, what is Krishna saying? That they are controlled by they are Prakritim, Mohinim. They are controlled by Mohini Prakriti, which is Mahamaya, the bewildering potency, the material nature. And one might think, okay, this is referring to the Rakshasas and Asuras. Prabhupada begins the purport by talking about devotees. He doesn't talk about Rakshasas and Asuras. He begins the purport talking about devotees. He says there are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service going back to Godhead will never be tasted. Similarly, then Prabhupada continues that similarly those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and those who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from material entanglement will never be successful either, because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demoniac or atheistic. So the point here is, one might wonder, why are devotees being mentioned? The first thing that Prabhupada mentions devotees. You might generally think this refers to the Mayavadis, it could refer to... So basically, it refers to devotees who worship Krishna in unauthorized ways. Those who worship Krishna in unauthorized ways. What is that verse? Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpatayaiva Kalpate. That the devotional service that is executed in ignorance of Shruti, Smriti and Purana, that is not executed in line with the scriptures and the predecessor acharyas, they are just considered to be a disturbance in society. So they may be worshipping Krishna, but Krishna throws them in the category of Rakshasi and Asura. This is very significant because if those who are not controlled by material nature, they are controlled by spiritual nature. The point is, these verses are very significant in Bhagavad Gita because when one attains liberation from material nature, what happens? Krishna says in the next verse that they are mādhava-dayitegokula-tarun prakriti-ashritaha. It's not that they become one with Krishna. It is not that they are totally free of any shelter. Rather, they actually take shelter of Radharani. They actually take shelter of Daivi Prakriti. This is the point, Yoga Maya. And that when those who want to be free from the control of Maya, those who want to be free from illusion, they have to take shelter of Yoga Maya. You cannot be without shelter. You cannot practice Krishna consciousness without taking shelter. And this is the difference between following Krishna consciousness in parampara and not in parampara. Because when you follow Krishna consciousness without parampara, outside of the parampara, you don't take shelter of Daivi Prakriti. For instance, we can see the Sri Vaishnavas, they very much emphasize taking shelter of Sri. If you want to attain the mercy of Vishnu, if you want to attain the shelter of Narayana, you must get the merciful glance of Mahalakshmi. Without Mahalakshmi, we are not approaching Narayana. In fact, we serve Narayana in the footsteps of Mahalakshmi. We assist Mahalakshmi. This is the mood. This is the mood. And therefore, there is shelter. Now, if one worships Krishna separately, in his own independent fashion, Krishna doesn't appreciate that. He doesn't appreciate such concocted worship. Even though it may be directed towards him, Krishna doesn't appreciate it. Why? Why doesn't he appreciate it? Because Srimati Radharani, she is the manifestation of the pleasure potency of Krishna. Lakshmi Devi is her expansion. That she has, so Srimati Radharani has a golden form, Lakshmi Devi also has golden form. She is also gold complexioned because she is expansion of Srimati Radharani. And because Srimati Radharani is the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord, she knows how to give pleasure to Him. And when service comes to Krishna outside of that, then Krishna doesn't appreciate it so much. He doesn't appreciate it. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says here that the Mahatmas, they do not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme Person. There is no doubt about it. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features such as the four-armed Mahavishnu. These are all describing qualities of Radharani and the gopis. This whole paragraph here is describing qualities of Radharani and the gopis. So this is why this is a very special verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna reveals, he reveals how the Mahatmas, and what is the preliminary characteristic of these Mahatmas, that the Mahatmas, in order to become free from the control of material nature, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what is that surrender? That surrender happens through the agency of the Guru. And who is the Guru? Guru is representative of Srimati Radharani. This is the process. That there is no way to attain Krishna and take shelter. So to attain Krishna, you have to take shelter of the spiritual potency. How do you take shelter of the spiritual potency? You surrender. How do you surrender? You cannot surrender without a Guru. Therefore, this is the process. Why? Because Guru trains you. What is pleasing to Krishna? What is not pleasing to Krishna? This is pleasing. This is not pleasing. And why? Because surrender is preliminary. I was hearing some lectures because yesterday one person was asking me about the worship of Bal Gopal, Laddu Gopal. So this worship of Laddu Gopal is not within our sampradaya. There is one place where Guru Maharaj says it can be done on Janmashtami, just on Janmashtami. Therefore we did it on Janmashtami. But otherwise this is not in our sampradaya. Why? Because we don't worship Krishna by himself. We don't worship Krishna by himself. We worship Gaur-Nitai, Radha Krishna, Krishna Balaram. Even in Kurukshetra, Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish Arjuna Krishna temple. We don't worship Krishna by himself. And Srila Prabhupada makes that point, that, or Guru Maharaj actually, makes this point that we don't worship Krishna by himself. And why? Because this is not our mood. We very much emphasize taking shelter of Srimati Radharani. Why do we say Radha Krishna? Because it is Radha's Krishna. We're not worshipping any Krishna. We want Radha's Krishna. We don't. And this is the point. And Prabhupada makes this point in another place. We say Radha Krishna, Lakshmi Narayana. Which Narayana do we want? We want Lakshmi's Narayana. Not any Narayana. Lakshmi's Narayana. We want Sita Rama. Sita's Rama. So this is why the divine energy is mentioned first before Krishna's name. Because of the emphasis that we have to take shelter of divine energy before we approach Krishna himself. And therefore we are not just called Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas are worshippers of Vishnu. We are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that Gaudiya means worshipper of Radha. But we don't worship Radharani by herself. Why? Because Radharani doesn't want that worship. She's not interested in that. She doesn't care. So how are we worshipping Radharani? How do we worship Srimati Radharani? Okay, but you worship Krishna. Our worship of Krishna is to please Radha. This is why we worship Krishna. We don't worship Krishna to please Krishna directly. Because we have no hope of pleasing Krishna directly. You cannot please Krishna directly. Krishna doesn't want us to approach him directly. Why? Because it's very simple. If one understands the nature of love, this is not very hard to understand. If one understands the nature of love, that if to understand how to please a person, you have to go to somebody who's already close to them, who's already intimate to them. And then you know how to please them. Then you know how to worship them. But those who are puffed up, as Krishna is saying here, moga karmano, that they are baffled. They are, and why? Because they are puffed up. Rakshasim asurim, Rakshasas and Asuras are puffed up. What is that verse in Bhagavad Gita? Described 16th chapter. Where they are puffed up. Dhambo dharpo bhimanascha, krodha parushyameva. Dhambo, pride. Pride. I know how to please Krishna. I know how to do this. I know how to worship Him. So that kind of pride Krishna doesn't like. He doesn't appreciate it. You want to be close to me, but you don't want to become close to those who are close to me. Then how can you be part of my family? Okay, anyways you're worshipping me, I'll give you something. So he'll give them something. He'll award them the 5 kinds of liberation. But he will not bring them close to him. That he will not bring. And they absolutely cannot gain any entrance into Vrindavan. This is why Radharani is called Vrndavana. Because as Vrndavana, if you, in Vrindavan, even Dasya Rasa is imbued with a level of intimacy that is there. There is a certain level of intimacy, certain level of sweetness. Not the intimacy is not the word, the level of sweetness. That sweetness comes from Madhurya. And what is that sweetness? That sweetness is that you gain entrance into Krishna's very own abode. An abode that he himself considers as his own, where he is truly the enjoyer and not the master or the creator or anything like that. In that place, Krishna finds that abode of Vrindavan, Krishna finds to be most pleasing to him. So, one cannot gain entrance into Vrindavan in any of the rasas without the mercy of Srimati Radharani. And the mercy of Srimati Radharani is obtained when one surrenders. And what is that surrender? To understand, to learn what is pleasing to Krishna, what is not pleasing to Krishna. If you don't understand this, then sometimes devotees, they say, or some devotees, and they would say, I don't want to go to Ranganath temple. I don't want to go and see these forms of other forms of Vishnu because I'm attached to two-handed form of Krishna. See, Prabhupada even says that this is what we are supposed to, why you are all going there. But on the other hand, he doesn't understand that his eating karmi grains is not pleasing to Krishna. That he doesn't understand. That he cannot understand. Or he may argue, why can't I read, why can't I worship Lord Gopal? What is wrong? It's also Krishna. Krishna accepts everything. They come up with these, but they cannot understand what is pleasing and what is not pleasing, and they assume themselves to be on a higher platform. This is asajas. They assume themselves. Everybody likes to sing. This song, Radha Krishna Pranamora, is a very sweet song. Everybody likes to sing and feel the bhav. And yes, the music itself, the tune and the melody of it, Narottam Das Thakur, of course, of all people, he composed this song. It's a very beautiful song. But what does it mean, pranamor? It means cricket cannot be there in one's life. It means that all kinds of, you cannot be interested in anything else. Okay, on these days we just sing this song a little bit in humble mood, actually very unqualified to sing any of these things. But okay, we should know that such thing is there. So They don't understand this. Why? Because ultimately they have not surrendered. In Bhagavatam, Prabhupada refers to this verse in Canto 3, Chapter 6, text 38. Sorry. So here, again, very interesting verse, how Srila Prabhupada occasionally, this kind of deep information shines through from between his lips. It's very beautiful. So, the verse itself says, O my son, the original poet Brahma, after mature meditation for 1,000 celestial years, could only know that the glories of the Supreme Soul are inconceivable. So then, Srila Prabhupada comments later in the verse. He says, the devotees, so it is said in the Brahma Samhita that the mental speculator may fly through the sky of speculation with the velocity of the mind or the wind for thousands of millions of years, and still he will find it inconceivable. The devotees, however, do not waste time in such vain searching after knowledge of the Supreme, but they submissively hear the glories of the Lord from the bona fide devotees. Thus, they transcendently enjoy the process of hearing and chanting. The Lord approves of the devotional activities of the devotees or Mahatmas. And then, quoting the verses that we just read, actually, the next verse is Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha didhavrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. This is the characteristic of one who is constantly worshipping the Supreme Lord, constantly glorifying Him. Prabhupada says, the pure devotees of the Lord take shelter of the para-prakriti, internal potency of the Lord, called Lakshmi Devi, Sita Devi, Srimati Radharani or Srimati Rukmini Devi. Thus they become actual Mahatmas or great souls. Mahatmas are not fond of indulging in mental speculations, but they actually take to the devotional service of the Lord without the slightest deviation. Devotional service is manifest in the primary process of hearing and chanting about the activities of the Lord. This transcendental method is practiced by the Mahatmas. Give them sufficient knowledge of the Lord, because if the Lord can at all be known to some extent, it is only through the means of devotional service and no other way. One may go on speculating and waste the valuable time of his human life, and that will not help anyone enter into the precincts of the Lord. The Mahatmas, however, are not concerned with knowing the Lord by mental speculation, because they enjoy hearing about His glorious activities in His transcendental dealing with the devotees or with the demons. The devotees take pleasure in both and are happy in this life and the life after. So those who are not in the shelter of Daivi Prakriti, they don't understand. They cannot understand how the predecessor Acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, he visited different temples in India. He did pilgrimage with his disciples. They went to different temples in India. What is your damn problem? Because you have not taken shelter. You are some mental speculator. You're speculating something. And then you are afraid that you will lose your Vraj Bhav, which you never had in the first place. So this kind of nonsense, because you're not taken shelter. We have not taken shelter. One who has taken shelter of Guru, they are safe. So in a lecture, Srila Prabhupada says, this is in Mombasa, Africa, September 15, 1971. Prabhupada, is it visible? No? I think this is the biggest. Okay. Prabhupada. So Prabhupada is explaining a verse from the 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj, where a word comes called Bija Nirharanam. So Prabhupada says, Bija Nirharanam, this propensity, we should always remember that I shall be greater than him. I shall overlord him. Just like my God brothers. The propensity is that, he has become greater than us. Therefore, they are very envious. Their propensity is to become, but they could not. Therefore, envious. This is materialism. There is no spiritual sense here. Prabhupada says that if one becomes envious of other devotees, you got no spiritual sense. He means you're brainless. And there's no spiritual brain. Zero. So, what does this mean? It comes to the point that if one wants to take shelter of Srimati Radharani, one has to take shelter of the Guru. It comes here actually, it will come more. So Prabhupada says, in the material, spiritual world, if somebody is greater in service, they appreciate. How great is he? How he has advanced in Krishna's service? We could not do it. The Radharani's spirit. So, we have the Radharani spirit. Prabhupada says, what is that? Why? Radharani is worshipped by the devotees. Her spirit is like that. If anyone, she finds a nice devotee of Krishna, she immediately recommends to Krishna, how nice this devotee, he can render better service than me. Please accept him. This is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's external reason is he came to save the conditioned souls. Because Srimati Radharani wants to recommend, when Krishna accepts the mood of Srimati Radharani, she doesn't just demand surrender, she teaches surrender. She teaches her. How does she teach surrender? She herself does it. She herself does it. She herself is Atma Nivedan to Krishna. She doesn't have any separate existence other than pleasing Krishna. And she teaches. Therefore, when Krishna accepted the mood of Radharani, he had to become a devotee. He himself had to show the process of devotional service. Otherwise, in Bhagavad Gita, he said, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. If you don't do this, go to hell. And that's it. Literally, he says that to Arjuna. He literally says, what's that verse? He says to Arjuna that if you don't follow me, No. It's in 18th chapter. He says, if you don't, because of pride, if you don't follow me, you will be forced to follow your nature anyway.
Comes after that verse where he says that you shall cross over the ocean.
Anyways, I can't remember right now. I'm dull-headed. Actually, it's Bhagavad Gita. Let me pull it up. Okay. So, yada ahankaram ashritya na yotsye iti manyase mitya isha vyavasyaste prakriti stvam niyokshasi. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. Falsely directed means where? You will go to hell. That's what it means. And in the previous verse, he says, Atachetom ahankara na sochiti vinangshasi. You will be destroyed, vinangshasi. However, if you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. So Krishna he said this and he went back. Yeah? What did he do when he went back? He also said, Krishna Sadama Pagade Dharma Jnanadi Bisaha. He took Dharma and Jnana also with him. So Krishna is like, okay, here's Bhagavatam, you follow it. And if you don't follow, whatever. Good luck. So, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't do that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu couldn't do that because he accepted the mood of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, that verse, Dayite yepsitam anvadhavad, Vande Mahapurushate Charana-aravindam, that we discussed for Gaura Purnima. Tyaktva sudushtya surepsita laja lakshmi dharmishta arya vachasa yadagadharanyam maya mrigam dayite yepsita manvadavad vande mahapurushate charana-aravindam. Could not. Because of imbued with the feeling of Srimati Radharani, who feels the most, she is the most humble. She is the most humble. If anybody exhibits Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari, that is Srimati Radharani. She is extremely tolerant of anything to herself. But she is not tolerant when it comes to Krishna. So, she's imbued with that mood. And in that mood, because she's so eager to expand service to Krishna, she doesn't just tell the living entities, okay, here's the instruction, follow. No, she says, come, I am doing this. Come with me, we'll do it together. And when you do it, you will see that you are better than me. This is Radharani's mood. This is very, very, very exalted. It's very difficult to understand. How she, who is the very personification of pleasure potency, is so humble. Otherwise, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not come. Papi tapi jata chilo hariname udharilo tara sakhi jagai madai. This is not happening if it weren't for Srimati Radharani's mercy. If it weren't for the mood of Srimati Radharani. Krishna had to do this. This is the mood of, that's why the mood of Vrndavana and the mood of Nabadvip, Mayapur is non-different. Because Audharya is the external manifestation of Madhurya, which is the internal feeling. And in this Madhurya feeling, Radharani knows exactly what is the most pleasing to Krishna. And she's willing to do anything for that. Therefore, she says things that even if this debauchee, I know it's a debauchee, this ashlishya padaratam pinashtumam adarshanan marmahatam karotava, that even if he breaks my heart, he is my Lord, and if I know that him running after this other woman is not going to be pleasing to him, but he thinks it's pleasing to him, and therefore I lament, but I will still serve him because that's what he wants. This is a level, see, Radharani shows a level of surrender, shows a level of devotion to Krishna that cannot be imitated. It is completely unique to her. What is that? She doesn't lose her individuality, but she is one in heart with the Supreme Lord. And that is where the Achintya Beda Beda Tattva comes to full fruition. The Achintya Beda Beda Tattva comes to full fruition in Srimati Radharani. She is one with Krishna, yet she is different from him. And when we accept that mood, we also become one with Krishna and we are yet different to him. We maintain our individuality, but we become one in desire. We learn how to serve him. And that selfless mood, so Prabhupada says, this is spiritualism. Who can give better service than Radharani? She is so great that she is captivating Krishna. Krishna captivates Madana, Cupid, but Radharani captivates Krishna. How great she is. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava-Dayite. We always pray. We pray always. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrndavana Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. The most dear, most beloved by Krishna is Radharani. And she is so humble. As soon as a humble devotee approaches Radharani by glorifying Krishna, immediately she accepts, oh, how great he is. He is doing greater service than me. That is the Mahabhagavata's darshan. Mahabhagavata sees that everyone is engaged in service. Therefore, he has no discrimination. But don't imitate like that. So, bija nirharanam. The bija, you should always understand. Material bija means the propensity to rule over this material world, or better or greater than others. That is materialism. Therefore, Krishna's first condition is that you give up all this nonsense and please surrender unto me. So, as long as this propensity is there, as long as the propensity is there to lord it over, to look down upon others, to think oneself as supreme, to be puffed up, to not have a tolerant attitude, to not be humble, to not consider. The song Radha Krishna Pranamor, Narottam Das Thakur says, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Dase Rano Das. Says, I am the servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself plays like that. In that verse, Naham Vipro Nachanara Patir, Napi Vaishyo Nashudro, Napi Varni, anyways, I forget. I should look this up actually. Gopi Bhartuv Padakamalayo, that's how it ends. Wonderful verse. Naham Vipro. Okay. Beautiful verse. Visible? Naham Vipro Nacharana Patir Napi Vaishyo Nashudro Naham Varni Nachagrahapatir No Vanasto Yatirva Kintu Prodyam Nikila Paramananda Purnamrita Abdher Gopi Bhartuv Padakamalayo Dasa Dasanudasaha. This is recited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Naham Vipro. So let's read the translation. I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya nor a Shudra, nor am I a Brahmachari, a householder, a Vanaprastha or a Sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like the ocean of nectar, and he is the bliss of universal he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. So this mood that I am none of this. I am simply the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord of the gopis. Of the Lord of the gopis means what? That means you are servant of the gopis. That means we are servant of the acharyas. Who are the servants of the gopis? Those are our acharyas. Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. They are all servants of the gopis. And we are their servants. This is the mood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. He is in the mood of Srimati Radharani, but she considers herself like that. She considers herself like that. So, this mood, this ties back to the verse that we read in Bhagavad Gita. Let's see how to get back there. That bhajanti ananya manaso, to worship the Lord always. That's what's stated in the third verse of Shikshashtakam. What is it? Tarorapi Saishna. Then? Kirtaniya sada harihi. Kirtaniya sada harihi ties into that verse. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Same thing. Why? Because they are trinadapi sunichena and they have taken shelter of Daivi Prakriti. Therefore, Kirtaniya sada harihi. They are able to do that. And when they are in that mood, then what's the next verse? Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamayema, janmani janmani ishware bhavatad bhakti rahaitu kitvai. Similar to this. Naham vipro nacharanapatir napi vaishyo nashudra. I am not janma. Janma janmantarepi means what? What was janma? Which am I going to be attached to? Am I going to be attached to being a householder? Am I going to be attached to being a brahmana, sannyasi, brahmachari? What? Nothing. Kintu prodya nikila paramananda purnamrita abdher gopi bhartuv padakamalayor dasa dasanudasaha. That this mood, it's amazing how you see this. Our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas are able to bring out the Gaudiya mood that's found nicely hidden. It's like a beautiful sweet that's layered, and you have the best part inside, deep inside, but you can't see it from outside. It's layered. It's all sweet. It's all beautiful. But that layering, that nectar that's found within, this is brought out by our acharyas. They extract it. They extract it and they present it to us. And therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he recites the Shikshashtakam prayers, and the Shiksha, we cannot become a devotee. We will be this. Mogasha moga karmana, moga jnana richesasa, rakshasi masurim chaiva. If we don't develop Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi saishna, you become a nuisance in devotional society. Just simply one big nuisance, that's all. In order to not become a nuisance, we have to develop this humble attitude of being the servant of the servant of the servant. And the servant of the servant, it doesn't mean just the acharyas. You have to cultivate that attitude with all devotees. It is not possible. Why? Because the whole point is to care about what Radharani cares. It's to care about what the Vrajvasis care about. And among the Vrajvasis are our acharyas. And among the things that our acharyas care about are his disciples. And you don't care about them. Something's off. Will not gain entrance into Vrindavan. Would not be able to gain entrance there. So this attitude has to be developed. So we must voluntarily cultivate this attitude, because if we don't cultivate this attitude, Radharani will not allow us entrance into Vrindavan. You just cannot go. It's not possible. And and then what comes after Nadhanam na janam na sundari? Ai nanda tanuja kinkaram patita mam vishame bhavan budau. I am so fallen. Kripaya tava pada pankajastita dhuli sadrisham vichintya. It's an extreme mood of humility. It's very, very, very amazing how Radharani shows that attachment. So, in order to please Srimati Radharani, we worship Krishna. This is the main point. And therefore, our worship, so we can't, even though we may take shelter, at least, even though it's Nama Parad, at least I am chanting some names. Something is being done. Some name I am chanting. All that may fly with Krishna. Right? Okay, you are worshipping me. Here's some benediction for whatever you want, or whatever you may deserve. But if we understand that we are trying to please Radharani, we are trying to please the residents of Vrindavan, we are trying to please our acharyas, then it takes it to a whole other level. Because we have to understand that the residents of Vrindavan are not satisfied with anything but the absolute perfect for Krishna. And that is why our acharyas, they don't emphasize so much. Compared to the other sampradayas, we emphasize less on the different benedictions that you do this, you will definitely go to Vaikuntha, you definitely get liberated, and this and that. We're not emphasizing as much. Because the emphasis is to develop love of God. And to develop love of God means you have to develop love. And so that's a process. That's the process of caring for what our acharyas care for. And therefore it's not easy. It's not easy. Demigods are not able to gain entrance into Vrindavan. What to speak? This, just see, in Nectar of Instruction, the very last verse. Krishnasyo chaif pranaya vasatif preyasi vyopi radha kundam chasya munibirabitas tagre eva vyadhai yat preshtai rapyalam asulabam kim punar bhakti bhajam tat premedam sakradapi saras snatur avishkaroti. Out of the many objects of favored delight and of all the lovable damsels of Vrajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine Kund is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radha Kund is very rarely attained by even the great devotees. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathes once within these holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. So we can go to Radha Kund and dive in there, come out and still be attached to cricket. Doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Either the nectar of instruction is a bunch of hogwash, or something is not happening. What is happening? You never bathed in Radha Kund. You're there, but you're not there. It's the same thing when going to the holy dhams. It is not that just because one takes a flight ticket and one goes. See, it's very, because even demigods don't get access. So somehow we sinful living entities who were just yesterday engaged in all kinds of nonsense activities, such that we were such kind of people that even if pious people saw our face, their piety would be lost. Okay. That was the kind of people. Suddenly, we managed to purchase a flight ticket on whatever, Air India. You purchased a flight ticket, you went to Mumbai, you paid some taxiwala, and you went to Vrndavana, and now you are there. And Indra is not able to go. That Indra who performed 1000 Ashwamedha Yajnas to gain his position, he is not able to go. And, we have managed to go. No. So Prabhupada says here that it is said that a devotee will at once develop pure love of Krishna in the wake of the gopis if he once takes bath in Radha Kund. So then Prabhupada says that in this connection, Bhakshila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that even great sages and great devotees like Narada and Sanaka do not get an opportunity to come to Radha Kund and take their baths. Narada is not able to go. Narada Muni is not able to go. And we managed to buy a flight ticket and go. Really? So what about Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, Sanat Kumara? They were so powerful that they stopped their bodies from developing the sex organs because they were brahmacharis. So powerful. They even visited Vaikuntha. And they can't go to Radha Kund. So this is not a joke. Attaining the mercy of Srimati Radharani and attaining entrance into this is not an easy thing. It is the most exalted thing, and the only possible entrance, the only way to get to it is not how nicely one sings, how one may be the best devotee on the planet, or one may be the best this and the best that, and give good classes and cook very nicely, or be an expert manager, or distribute thousands and thousands of books. All that will bear fruit when one understands what it means to become a devotee of Krishna. Yes, all that has benefit. Nobody is saying no. But the ultimate benefit is that we are doing this to give pleasure to the acharyas who are representatives of Srimati Radharani. And if we don't develop the attitude that gives them that pleasure, it won't last. It won't last. There's something else happens. And this is why this Trinadapi Sunichena is extremely important, because this devotional service is a matter of the heart, but it is a matter of the purified heart, not the contaminated materialistic heart. And therefore, giving pain by our behavior to the acharyas to the guru, causing unnecessary disturbance, we will be restricted from coming to Vrndavana. And what does that restriction mean? We will be placed under an expansion of Srimati Radharani. Her name is Durga. You have to be placed under some shelter. So Radharani manifests herself as Durga for those who want to directly approach Krishna and try to cheat the process by being puffed up. They remain under that jurisdiction. And so Radha, especially for those who try to worship Radha separately, she manifests herself as Durga because she doesn't want to be worshipped separately. Why? Because these people who are worshipping, they are puffed up. So they want something else. They don't want Krishna's pleasure. They want something else. They want something else from Krishna. So she manifests herself as Durga and give them that. So this is, anyways, there's so much more can be said, and already I'm qualified to speak whatever I've already spoken. So I'll stop here. If there are any questions or comments, please feel free to ask.
Just kind of was thinking, in light of what you were saying, of how viewing that we worship Krishna in order to please Radha, and we see that in Shastra how Krishna relates how dear the devotees are to him, and then if you and just taking it from what your perspective or looking at it from that point of view, how dear they must be to Radharani, because she's a servant, and then those who serve under her, just like anybody that is your own family or a king naturally feels very attached to his servant. So they're dear to Radharani, and she must feel displeased if one is offensive to the devotees. And then the only way to serve Krishna is through the spiritual energy. So what is our qualification if we blow that and we blow it with the devotees? Just looking at it from that perspective, it's quite, devotees are dear to Krishna, but they must be more dear to Radharani because they're helping her in pleasing Krishna. And like you were saying, she feels you're doing a better job than me. That means that she holds those so dear to the heart. And so it's from so many angles of vision, impossible to understand the position of a devotee.
What's important to understand is these devotees who are dear to Srimati Radharani, they are under Daivim Prakriti. And it is the same Daivim Prakriti that when it comes to the material world becomes the material energy. It becomes Jada Prakriti. And this Jada Prakriti is what ties us to this material world and inflicts the miseries of birth, death, old age and disease. Adhyatmika, Adi-bhaudika, Adi-daivika klesh. And when Srimati Radharani, she protects her devotees within that shelter that she gives because she wants them to engage in Krishna's service. So she will protect them at all costs. And what happens to the others? They get pushed out due to their offensive attitude. This is literally what plays out in devotion. You get pushed out and you go out there and you really suffer. Whether they realize it or not, that's another thing. But it's the same energy that is acting. It's the flip side. One is the energy and the other is the reflection of that energy or a shadow of that energy. And so, and that's why this humble attitude is extremely important, because we really should not expect respect and offer all respects to others. We really have to develop that attitude. But we want respect. We really want respect. We get so offended so easily, but we don't get offended about offending other people. That's pretty cool. When it comes to myself, I trip out about any damn thing. But when it comes to others, you expect them to tolerate. You can see how this is a reflection of the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world, Srimati Radharani is exactly the opposite. She will fret about anything that is disturbing to Krishna. But if it's disturbing to herself, she will not even mention it. But in the material, we mention about every damn thing that I feel discomfort about. I like to glorify myself, I like to talk about myself, I like to keep everything comfortable for myself, and I expect everybody else to tolerate what I'm doing. And in the spiritual sense, it's exactly the opposite. This is not sahajism, it's not sentimental stuff. Yes, sometimes devotees can sentimentally act in that way without understanding the true thing, but it is not sentimental that Srila Prabhupada felt indebted to his own disciples and thanked his own disciples, called his disciples his spiritual master, representatives of his spiritual. This is not sentimental stuff. It's not that Prabhupada was being some, mushy, sentimental, fluffy Mayavadi, Sahajiya. No. We have to cultivate that. We should actually feel that way. There is a genuine way in which those things are expressed. So, sometimes in our emphasis of philosophy, sometimes it can be that devotees might lose track of this mood. The mood also has to be cultivated.
Let's mention that Sadachara, ultimately the Siddhanta, one's understanding of Siddhanta culminates in one's Sadachara, how one actually acts.
Yeah.
So if he's not able to act according to the standards of devotional service, and Siddhanta, but then your actions are like way out of order, then then it's no use.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's so many nice points you made and so many things to speak about. But
I was wondering if you could speak on, so we refer to Lakshmi Narayan, Radha, Krishna, addressing the energy of Krishna before Krishna himself. So I was wondering if you could speak on why we say like Sri Guru or Srila Prabhupada, so why that title goes before the name. Is it like
Why? Because
the internal potencies accompanying these personalities?
Yeah, Shri is used as a respective title. Shri also means Lakshmi. Yeah, it refers to, Shri refers to Lakshmi, opulence, majesty and everything. So Shri is used as a respectful title. Shri can also mean one who is, it can also refer to Lakshmi Devi herself, not just opulence and things like that. So it's used in colloquial sense. It's used to it's used to refer to anybody in a respectful way, meaning that there is some opulence that they carry, which may be any type of opulence, including renunciation, that they carry. So the word Shri is used for respectable people, but we use that in reference, but it can also, when we use it in reference to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when we say Shri Krishna, it can also refer to Lakshmi and Krishna, Radha and Krishna. So
when we address, for instance, Srila Prabhupada, is there any, could any connection be made to Radharani?
Ultimately that word, comes from the root Shri, so you can say that he is sheltered under Srimati Radharani, that he is exhibiting such an opulence. But yeah. Anything else? Yes?
I was just wondering, so theoretically, like Krishna's expansions, Balaram and Radharani, they are servants of him, and it's in such a way that they truly don't understand that they're Godhead and they serve him. So why is it that the jivas have to have their their free will, where they do have the potential to fall down, when maybe we could have all just been expansions of like Radharani and Balaram on that kind of...
So, no. See, you're confusing two types of expansions. One is Krishna himself expanding into Balaram, is the Purusha incarnations. The Purusha himself is expanding. Krishna is the Purusha, Adi Purusha. And he himself is expanding as Balaram. Then you have his energies, which is headed by Srimati Radharani, which has her own expansions. And we are one of those expansions, because we are one of those energies. And so, why? Because for the nature of love. So, does Radharani have a choice to choose whether she can love or not? The thing is, she does. But the thing is, she never chooses otherwise. Because that is her position, that is her nature. She is the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord herself. So, there is no possibility of her doing anything else. Does that mean that she doesn't have the independent free will? No, that's not what it means, because that's not her position. Her position is that she is the pleasure potency of the Lord. On the other hand, the living entities are tatastha shakti, marginal potency. The marginal potency can interact either with the internal or the external energy. That's the position. Therefore, we have the choice. The internal energy has to be there for us to make the choice. If the internal energy is not there, how could we make the choice? So, anything else?
This point you're making, that even Narada Muni can't take his bath in Radha Kund, he's not eligible.
That's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says.
Yeah. It just seems like these great souls aren't able to attain that perfection, but it's like a tall task, because we're trying to we're practicing under the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we're trying to develop higher levels of Krishna consciousness. But then you see that even if we get to a certain level, there's devotees that are so far surpass us, and they're still not even able to get to that. So it almost seems kind of discouraging, actually, when you see that, these great souls aren't able to gain interest to that topmost level of intimacy with Krishna, but yet we're still expected to come to a higher level of spiritual advancement.
No, I discourage, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur bathed in Radha Kund. Srila Prabhupada also bathed, actually.
Oh.
Yes, after he disappeared. That was the only time. That's the only recorded time. We don't know. There might have been another time, but the recorded instance of Prabhupada, the only recorded instance of Prabhupada bathing in Radha Kund is when devotees took his Sri Murti, his actual transcendental form, and then bathed him in Radha Kund, like that. And so that's how exalted. The thing is, it's not surprising, because even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that he will not reside in Radha Kund. Why? Rupa Goswami says to reside in Radha Kund. Why you won't reside in Radha Kund? No, I won't reside in Radha Kund, because my Acharya is like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He resides in Radha Kund. I will offer obeisances to Radha Kund from afar. This is their mood. The point is, what you can understand from all of this is, the more we cultivate that mood of humility, the more actually you gain entrance to it. It's not discouraging. It's, you see that the more humility that one has, that one feels unqualified, the more one actually becomes qualified in Krishna consciousness. The more one becomes qualified to do anything in Krishna consciousness. And seeing that quality, as we just read, Srimati Radharani, she becomes very happy, and she immediately pulls that, you must serve. But that is a very secretive thing. The devotee himself, he doesn't like to reveal or talk about these kind of things, because it is a matter of the heart. And it is a matter that's kept very secret because he still thinks himself to be very unqualified. And he says, somehow or the other, it's my great good fortune, but in another sense, this is the greatest misfortune. Why am I getting to go there? Why should I go? Why am I getting, why? It's just, why? Okay, because what to do? I'm being asked to do so. But when he does it with great feeling. And because of that, he gets that access. So we see that even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he didn't want to live in Radhakund. It's that mood. Because why? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is who? He's Nayanamani Manjari. He is the vision of Srimati Radharani. And that vision, the personification of that vision doesn't want to live in Radhakund. It's very, very difficult to understand. The personification of that doesn't mean that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur doesn't have access to Radhakund. But he's showing how we can actually gain access. So it's actually very encouraging. It's not discouraging. It's encouraging. Even though it is said Narada and Sanaka do not get opportunity to bathe in Radhakund, we also understand that there are acharyas. So just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says he won't live in Radhakund, but we understand that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has access to Radhakund. So on one perspective, yes, that's true. Because they are exhibiting that mood. No, we are not qualified to go. We will not go. We are not going to be some upstart. So it's not discouraging. It's very encouraging if we are willing to develop that mood of humility. And we are not expecting. That's the whole point. We don't expect it. We simply expect that please keep me under the shelter at least. Let me not leave this association. I at least want to engage in some service at a distance. I don't want to be kicked away. I want to be engaged in some service in some distance. I will serve those who are going there. That much you allow me. That's the mood. And that service is available. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is offering that through Srila Prabhupada. Anything else from the men? Yeah.
I heard a comment from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that these people who take a train ticket to Vrndavana and take a bath in Radhakund, they're not actually bathing in Radhakund, they're bathing in Narakakund.
Narakund, yeah, that's a comment. Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, don't do that.
Okay. Anything from the Matajis? Yes.
It's just a comment earlier in the beginning of the class when you were talking about how deviations aren't pleasing to Krishna. It reminded me of, I was just reading yesterday about the deliverance of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and when he had changed the Tate Nukampam verse, he had switched Mukti Pade to Bhakti Pade, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though in the end he embraced him and he appreciated his sentiment, it seemed like he was setting the example for others who aren't at that stage.
Yeah.
You made the point about how only the most perfect service is accepted in Vrindavan or something like that. It made me think of could that mean as little as maybe you might be doing a service or something and maybe you might drop the paraphernalia on the floor, maybe a flower or something, and you don't suchi it with water or something. Little things like that are do you mean stuff like that? If you don't pay attention.
It's a matter of attitude.
Oh.
It's not a matter of it's mainly a matter of the attitude. The attitude will reflect in the quality of service reflects the attitude. And when the attitude is perfected, then the service also becomes perfect. Therefore, Nitayar karuna habe braje Radha Krishna pabe. That we have to gain the mercy of Lord Nityananda before we can enter Braj. What does that mean? That means Nityananda or Sri Guru. Nityananda is the original spiritual master. Sri Guru will train us. We have to accept that training and we have to become perfect in that training. So in the meantime, therefore, we worship Gaur Nitai, because that is whom we are qualified. That in reality, we worship Radha Krishna because we understand that that's our goal, but we have to gain the mercy of Gaur Nitai, because they accept service and they are pleased. And when they are pleased and we become perfected in our attitude with Krishna consciousness, then we gain access to Vrindavan, Krishna. So this is a very important point. That's why we have to go through Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise you cannot. Without the mercy of the Panchatattva, one cannot gain access to Vrindavan. Therefore the route to Vrindavan is through Mayapur. You had something?
On that point also, just sounds like you're mentioning perfection, and perfect in Vrindavan is that you have the attitude of perfect surrender, of never diverting one's mind, and you're quoting those verses, atadam kirtayantu mam, that sometimes, even we were singing this song, but then we think about what's in our heart, and say, okay, we're feeling that, but then it's like, we go, even a little tiny bit of extra time we get in our own devotional life, we spend it on our phone or watching some nonsense, and then at the same time, Radha Krishna Pranam, or well, what kind of feeling do you actually have? So that feel you're mentioning that actually it's constant. That's what perfection is. Okay, sometimes we may accidentally drop a paraphernalia, and that may happen, but what is the attitude and the mood of surrender to Krishna at every moment? Okay, yeah. Just because you dropped a paraphernalia doesn't mean you surrender to Krishna, but our attention diverted away from Krishna. That's the real judgment of actually what our real attitude is towards devotional service. How ready are we to give up that nonsense in our spiritual life? That's literally the judgment, and that's what Narottam Das Thakur prays, that until my heart is clear of all these things, I can't enter into Vrindavan. So we're talking about perfection, but perfection doesn't mean being able to do something exactly perfectly, but it means to have the perfect attitude in doing that service.
Yeah. Important points. Okay. Yeah? Go on. Radhastami.
Not a big special point, but just a personal reflection. I was reading yesterday how Krishna wants to experience himself, and therefore he manifests as Radharani. And then Radharani's, she's just trying to please Krishna, and that's the very essence of her existence. And I was just thinking wow, I guess that's kind of the essence of my existence too. I'm a manifestation from Krishna, I guess is proper to say, for the purpose of pleasing Krishna. And when one just sees that, my very existence, the purpose of my existence is to please Krishna. And sometimes we get just slight glimpses of this insight, and it's just wow, it's it just feels so powerful and really reassuring to okay, I know who I am, I know why I exist. And I was just thinking how, being a conditioned soul, coming from conditioned life of just, suffering and wanting to enjoy, and then just having the perspective, coming from that and then glimpsing this, there's a stark difference. And I was thinking how Srila Prabhupada was present here, and he still is, but when he was manifested in the 60s and 70s, and he was always in that mood. Like I get like a slight glimpse maybe once a year or something like that, but Srila Prabhupada was always in that mood, and it's just like such a powerful, awing mood of shelter and safety and bliss. And Srila Prabhupada was always feeling that, and that rubbed off on the people he was around.
Yeah.
It's just such a powerful thing, and everybody was so inspired by him.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, like, if we, cultivate that mood, it really has an impact on others, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good reflections. Hare Krishna. श्रीमती राधा रानी की जय, श्री श्री राधाष्टमी महामहोत्सव की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।